MLS.
Welcome back. Season's greetings here on a wet and record-breaking, maybe cold Wednesday in San Diego. We're actually going to go ahead and talk with somebody who was one of the first people that we had on the podcast. If I'm not mistaken, one of the first players to...
The first signing, right?
The first signing,
Yep.
Maybe the first guest that was player of the San Diego Lloyd to come on and get questioned by a pair of guys who just didn't know what they were doing, but now kind of have a better idea, but still don't know what we're doing. Anyway, without further ado, we want to welcome the San Diegans, the great Sal Zizzo. Sal, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me again. You guys have come up a lot since the first time I was on it.
That is true.
That's high
That
praise.
is very true. Yeah. I think I was in my room the first time we had. It was still peak COVID, and we're all in Zoom. So, thanks for joining us again, man.
Wild times.
Oh yeah.
100%. And I mean, a lot has happened since then. I know that, you've had a great time here back at home in San Diego for many reasons. But obviously, last time you were still playing, training every single day, being peak fitness, peak form, doing your best as much as you could to represent your city in and off the field. Do you miss that life, that strenuous life, or are you kind of like, you know what? I'm retired now. I can have an extra bowl or two of some mama's food.
Yeah, surprisingly, now that I'm retired, you actually have to watch what you eat even more unless you want to, it'll get out of hand quickly. So I do miss kind of getting forced to have to work out every single day. Of course, the first few months when it was over, it was kind of nice to take a break and not feeling like, oh, this off season I have to get at it again. But now that a lot of time has passed, almost about a year and a half or whatever it's been, I do wish I had that regimen every single day where I would get up and get a workout in, because I'll tell you what, the fitness goes quick.
I bet, man. And I mean, tell us as a player, what was your favorite experience that you had as a San Diego Loyal player?
Good question.
I mean, that opening night game, ever since they, announced that they were, that San Diego was creating a team here, that pretty much that first day was really cool to see all the responses from everyone. Obviously, the announcement when I first signed, all my interactions with all the fans and, friends and family that reached out, all pretty excited about the team. That was all really cool and really fun. And then honestly, a lot of what I miss nowadays is just kind of going into the locker room every single day and, hanging out with the guys, saying what's up, having that time. And now I'm pretty much home with my wife and my 4 kids, and it gets crazy here. So sometimes it would have been nice to have a break where you can kind of chat with the boys a little bit.
And do you miss the game in particular? Do you still play somewhere? Are you playing pickup anywhere with other ex-players, anything like that?
Yeah, no, not necessarily ex-players. I do from time to time. I'll play at a indoor league, whether it be in La Mesa or Santee or some of the other leagues in San Diego. I'll just a friend will invite me and I'll just go kick it. But I don't really do much exercise besides those one-offs every couple months. So I'm not much of a help in those games other than, a few plays here and there, but then I'm getting pretty tired quickly. So I do miss the competitiveness and the playing, that little fire underneath you to win every little thing you do, whether it be in practice or in games, or the strategy behind it all. But yeah, that's the part I miss.
I mean, and this is something that Shiva and I have contended for a while, because you mentioned a couple of indoor leagues. One of those maybe prepared you. You got the juices flowing after being part of a successful winning team a couple years ago at the halftime media all-star celebrity game for the San Diego Sockers, where I was fortunate enough to be on your team. I say that Shannon McMillan on the other side, World Cup winner, Olympics gold winner, was just as much of a retired player as, say, somebody like you, Sal.
Yeah, she had a few more years under her belt where she had, taken some time off. So it's tough to compare. I was fresh. I was, 2 months after retirement. I was still pretty much not in peak form, but I was on the way down, but I was still able to move a little bit. I can still move, obviously. It's just the longevity of a game of, even if it's 20, 40 minutes, it starts to wear on me pretty quickly.
Well, let me tell you, man, you destroyed me in this game. More than once. I scored a couple bangers too, and I kept telling this guy, "Hey, man, like you're calling him a retired player, but he's fresh off retirement. He's still fit, man." So, nonetheless, it was a lot of fun, and we missed you this last halftime game.
Yeah, I didn't get the invite. Whoever
Wow, we
did
gotta
it
talk to Craig.
yeah,
we
Craig
know
didn't
people.
hit me up this year. I didn't know. I kind of saw. Actually, I saw it on one of your guys' social media that maybe one of your saves again, which was nice.
Of course, you saw the saves.
Had to, of course. That was the highlight of the show. And you know what? Since then, we've decided to give my boy Chiva here another shot at open goal against me. So so far as to wanting to put on a charity match. So I know this is too far out, but if you'd be willing to just come out and play with a couple of us San Diegans for a charity.
Yeah, I'm down for any type of good cause charity. Let me know.
And Andrew Vassiliadis is going to be the goalkeeper.
Andrew Vassiliadis is slated to be the goalkeeper. Yeah. So I don't know if you want to play for him, against them. You're like, you know what? I need a little pay raise. I kind of didn't get it. Like a couple bangers in there.
He played club soccer back in the day. He used to play at Crusaders, San Diego Crusaders, down kind of where I grew up. So we both played for the same kind of local club growing up before, I moved on to some other clubs, but that was my first club, was Crusaders.
Local clubs, legendary local clubs, because they've been here for a while.
And you'll get the invite for sure next.
Yeah, we got you.
Media game. We're just gonna have to make the drive up to Oceanside.
It's in a new stadium, guys. But all right, back to kind of where we left off as far as you, Sal. Like, you're in a very unique position where you've been part of the club, the movement to start as a player. You've kind of seen the buildings, the makings of this club and where it's at. You've also kind of been you're a former player, but now also doing color commentary along with the great and powerful, oh my God, Jack Cronin. I don't know. I saw his face. The face of his picture came up first. The great Jack Cronin. So, what can you tell us about the differences and the growth that you've seen from this club on multiple levels? And is there some room that you see that they still need? Obviously, there's still room for growth, but is there something that you see that they still need to focus on, or something that you're happy in the direction that they're going with?
I mean, obviously, from day one, the growth of the club has been extraordinary. I mean, even with a lot of their player signings. When it first started, there wasn't, you had a lot of unknown about, what the league was going to be like. A lot of inexperience all over the organization. And then COVID hits. And so a lot of things, there was a lot of uncertainty, right? Then once that started to end, and there was a lot more clarity, a lot more people started getting good at what they did. And so our team in turn started getting better and better, and the signings kept getting better and better. And, those core players, which is actually pretty extraordinary that there's still a group of like 6, 7, 8 guys from that year one that is still with the team. And a lot of them are core players that this club depends on, like Colin Martin, Charlie Adams, Grant Stoneman, Tumi Moshabani. That's just to name a few. I think, Guido was there a little bit towards the end of that first year. There's a lot of good players. I'm sure I'm missing one, so don't hate me if somebody's listening to this, but there's a lot of core players. Morgan Hackworth's another one, but like, these guys have been here since year one. So you can say, hey, yeah, year one, we didn't really make playoffs in a shortened season, whatever, but they got it right in a lot of ways with the roster because of how many guys they've been able to hold over, and since then that, they've built off that core, and last year was a great year, especially for me being a color commentator and watching a lot of the home games. I mean, it was for me the most exciting team in the USL the way they could score goals, and then at the beginning of the season, of course, they were letting in some, but it made for an exciting game. But then towards the end of the year, they started shoring up their defense, and they obviously just fell short in the playoffs. And that's what I would just say what the next step would be, right? Is it's going to be tough to replicate how many goals they scored last season. I mean, I'll tell you, they're going to try, and they're trying to replace, but you lose a guy like Thomas Among and a guy like Kyle Vassell. Of course, you replace them with some good players, and there's other good players around them, but just the chemistry and all of that is going to be really tough to put up how many goals they scored last year. And with saying that, do they need to have a better offense than what they had last year to go further? Probably not. They could score 10 goals less in the regular season and still go on a run and win the USL championship. So there's not too much concern about that. But last year's team was an exciting team. And this year, I think they need to try and keep that excitement. And again, with those core players, I think you're going to see a lot of that. And you're just going to have to see some new guys, maybe, putting the ball in the back of the net because, Vassell and Among aren't there. You got a guy like Evan Conway who was playing left wing back scoring goals.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a little bit more of him playing in an advanced role, which is probably his natural position. So, he's able to obviously score from anywhere on the field. So that'll help. It's just that, big, strong target forward with speed, are they going to miss that this year? It'll be interesting to see.
And I want to ask you, do you feel like for young players like Nick Moon and Evan Conway, the team's going to rely a lot on them, do you feel like that's added pressure to them this season when they know they're going to have to start stepping up more?
Yeah, I mean, I think Evan Conway, I think his personality, at least from what I've only met him a few times, but from what I can tell, I mean, this guy's performed pretty much at every level he's played at. So I wouldn't say his, mentality is one that, needs to be worried about. I think he's sharp. He's going to be where he needs to be in his head to perform at a high level. I don't think he's one to put too much pressure on himself. I mean, he was a USL League One MVP, then comes here, with, some expectations of his own in his head, probably, maybe not so many from outsiders, but performs amazing, right? Scoring some goals for the team in really crucial moments, from left wing back to playing up top at times or wherever. But he's definitely someone that I think has his head right. I don't think you're going to see him put too much pressure on himself. Nick Moon, I think, he dealt with towards the end of last year that little injury, and he was having an amazing season, up until that point. Maybe his statistics, could have been a little bit better, maybe a little bit more goals here and there. And he would be one to tell you maybe the finished product at the very end could have been slightly better. But look, he scored that goal in preseason. Maybe he's going to play a little bit more of an advanced role. I guess we'll wait and see. Maybe they'll keep him at left wing back or right wing back, depending on where he is. But Nick Moon, honestly, for me, he's an MLS quality player. I think he's ready to take the next leap. And who knows, had he not got injured, towards the end of last year, maybe there would have been more, teams trying to reach out to find him. But, he's someone that, San Diego Loyal is going to need him to have another good season. And I see it being very possible for him.
And I want to follow up. You already mentioned Conway maybe playing left wing back twice as well. And we know from the past 4 seasons that that's something Landon really like, and Nate as well, where they like having players that are able to adapt to different positions. And we know as a player, you're gonna kind of have to play where the coach tells you to play, and you have to adapt. But are you personally a fan of that, or do you feel like maybe the team could benefit more when you play the players at the position that they're strongest in?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of gone back and forth on this. I think there's some, benefits to that. I mean, I wouldn't go too wild, although throughout my career, I think I played every position, whether it be at the MLS level. If you had told me I was going to play center back when I was 23 years old, I would have literally said you were crazy. Like, I'm not a defender. There's no way. I was like a winger / forward, kind of going at guys. But you evolve, the game evolves. A guy like Evan Conway can play left wing back with the way that the Loyal play, because it's such an advanced role. It's basically like playing winger, especially at home, right? they pin teams back, and you could literally just chill out there. And of course, you have to get back, and he has an amazing engine. But for the most part, you know, you're attacking 60 to 70% of the time from that role. So I do think it's good to have some ability to play different positions. But I know coaches that, you know, for example, when I was at Atlanta, Tata Martino, he was one that he had his guys in his position, and there was a backup for that position. And if that
Yeah.
starter got hurt, the backup would play, and that's it. And there wouldn't be like, okay, let's shuffle this center mid to the left back and then put in maybe a center mid or center back that we trust a little bit more than the backup left back, you know, because then you start messing with a lot of stuff. If it's one or two players, okay, but you know, we won MLS Cup that year, and guys would get injured, and whoever the backup was, if he started for the next 5 games, he would start for the next 5 games. When the starter came back, he came back and got his spot back and went from there, you know? So I think there's 2 ways of going about it. I think if you have a super deep team and you trust everybody on your, you know, your 18, which you should, because, you know, ultimately you're the coach and you're building the roster, then I think it should be, you know, next man up in that spot. But I can understand why some teams and players and coaches like to move guys around and put maybe their 12th or 13th guy that they trust the most into the squeeze them in somehow and kind of move the formation around, but you have to be careful.
Unfortunately, Tata's tactics didn't work for Mexico in the World Cup. Fortunately,
no, he got a lot of hate, but
I mean,
he was a brilliant coach, but it just didn't work out in Mexico.
I'm sure he's still great.
A lot of people probably aren't fans of him.
But I mean, talking about kind of coaching profiles and just obviously we've seen Nate be part of San Diego Loyal for a while now. He is elevated now into the head coaching position, but you know, there as whoever it's either Landon says it or Nate says it, he did a lot of coaching. He does most of the coaching. He does all the coaching. Wherever in between, Nate has always been a very integral part of the coaching philosophy of Loyal. But as somebody who was coached, I mean, you yourself were almost the coach yourself as a mentor to some of these players as well. Can you give insight as far as what type of coach Nate himself is, what kind of a profile he has, and what you noticed and what's going to work for him and in this upcoming season for him?
Yeah, I think you've said it best, where it falls, between was he doing all the coaching, a little bit of coaching, I will say he was a big part of Landon's first year as a coach. He had done it before. He was the head coach, and Landon kind of came in as a, not freshly, but a few years retired. And so you kind of need some time to get back into it, and you need some experience as a head coach. So, I wasn't there for Landon's, last year as a coach, but I would imagine each year he started kind of doing a little bit more. But, they're of one mind. I mean, a lot of what they do a lot of talking and a lot of, discussing over lineups and tactics and whatnot. And so I don't think you're going to see anything really change tactically from Loyal as far as, a different philosophy. Maybe you may see a few tactical, switches here, but the philosophy of getting after it, attacking soccer, a lot of it's going to be the same. I mean, Nate was a lot of the one that was spearheading a lot of this most of the time. And so, from that perspective, I mean, are they going to miss, Landon day in and day out being there? Just the respect that he, exudes, for sure. I mean, how can they not? You have Landon Donovan on the sideline, you want to perform well for him, but likewise with Nate, you're gonna see a product on the field that is gonna most likely be very similar to what you've already seen. Of course, players are different, as I kind of went on about, earlier in the podcast, but it'll be interesting to see kind of the chemistry that develops between the guys. But you have those core group of guys that know the standard that San Diego Loyal, wants to have, and the rest have to adapt to that.
Is there something you personally feel that they would need to change to maybe get further into the playoffs, or is there like something like tactically wise that you've seen out there last season that you say maybe if they tweak this a little bit, it would just be so much better?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's so hard to say with the way, the playoff format is, and it's just like a one and done game. You get unlucky. That going into that game, if you had told Loyal they had a 70% chance of winning and a 30% chance of losing, and somehow, you flip a coin and the 30%, not a coin, but whatever, format you use, and a 30% chance hits and they're out, So sometimes you do all the right things and then the game just doesn't work out for you. And that's just the cruel part of the game. But like, I think tactically going into that game, they were ready. I mean, it just didn't work out. Oakland was able to score a goal, and they've been a team that has been able to kind of, put some spoilers out there in the playoffs the last few years, even with just sneaking into the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, what is it? How do we make a deeper playoff run? I mean, it's kind of like, it always makes me laugh. Like, for example, the Padres, last
Yeah.
year they went to the NLCS,
Mm-hmm.
championship and lost to the Phillies, and it's like, oh, what do they need to do to get over the hump? And it's like, I mean, it's one game. These games can go either way out of 162. Like, you wouldn't say that if, Suarez would have struck out Bryce Harper and they had won the game and the game had moved on. And so you got to be
Oh
careful
man.
with kind of changing too much.
Yeah.
You can't change. Look, you look at the course of what they did over the regular season. They were the most exciting team in the USL. Why change anything? I mean, yeah, maybe focus a little bit more in the playoffs. I don't know. I mean, like, get the job done. Maybe the nerves got to him playing at home a little bit. It kind of got out of hand with the red card and a lot of the emotion. Maybe they can control that a little bit better.
Yeah.
But overall, do they need to change their tactics or their mindsets? I don't think so. I think they are going to make a playoff run this year, and it's just a matter of time.
I mean, I don't know if, conspiracy is the right word, but do you subscribe to any of these, almost conspiracies of all the teams want to play hard when it came to Landon, or the USL has it against Loyal for this or this and that? Or is there something that you're just kind of, there's some extra, I don't know, just intangibles happening at Torero at times or during the season?
I don't. I mean, I think there's bad refs. Were there some shocking refs at times? For sure. Did it go against Loyal? For sure. But did I think it was, deliberate in a way that it was, on purpose? No, I just think it was bad refereeing. Like the play on Kyle Adams, it just comes to my head when he got kicked out of the game with the red card. I think it was against Galaxy, right?
Yeah.
Galaxy 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that one from up above, I was like, what are they doing? That's just awful refereeing. But like, I don't think it was on purpose. I just think he was a bad ref. You know what I mean? So, I don't subscribe to any of that. Of course, there's, some bad calls here and there, but I don't think anybody's out to get Loyal necessarily. I think sometimes when you have to play that you're, always the victim, it's not a good mentality to have. You just got to move on and get on with it. And it's you against everyone. And that's kind of the mentality that you have to have. And what can they be better at to not, put those referee calls into play? You know what I mean?
So, I mean, you're talking obviously from a different perspective than you're even used to, obviously from the field, maybe to the stands here and there, which, by the way, 109 is asking, because there was a quote from Sal Zizzo on the last game that he would be a member of the 109 supporters, locals,
Like he'll be out
chavos,
there jumping around.
out there jumping around. And they asked me, like, hey, you got to let them know, like, what's going on.
Yeah, I know. And to be fair, I think, maybe this season I'll find a time. I was doing a lot of the broadcasting last year, so it was tough to find that in between game where I wasn't, but then I was also available to go to the game. So there was only like one or two I think I was able to go to that I wasn't broadcasting. One was the playoff game. But yeah, I'll try and find some time. You can quote me on that again. Hopefully nobody thinks I'm not a man of my word.
No, definitely. I know they're all kidding around, but I mean, this day, right? Like, this is kind of like in soccer ways, this is the ending to the story in a way. But I mean, is this how you see it? Is this kind of this chapter of soccer for you? Color commentating, is this something that you've enjoyed? How has that been again? Just from that different perch.
Yeah, no, I have really enjoyed that part more so than I really thought I would. I mean, if I was at home, I would have been sitting at home watching the game, critiquing it in my head, saying the same things and now it's pretty cool to be able to, go on a TV and do the same thing. So, yeah, I really do enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. For sure it was, a chapter closing at the time. Do I miss, that chapter? Yeah. Is it hard to like feel happy about it and not just say, oh, at 23, I could have done this, or at 26, you always look at your career and you could have been like, had I done this or that. And I think even if you give your all, you still have that moments in your head where you're like, oh, maybe at the time my mentality was a little bit off that year, or, maybe I could have spent more time in the gym. I could have lasted a few more years. You're always thinking these insane things, but it is, nice to look at it at the end of the day and say, look, I had a 15-year career. A lot of players, a lot of professionals haven't been able to play that long, didn't get to play that long, and didn't get to retire in their home city, and get that kind of send off that I had. So it was pretty cool moment to kind of, close the door with.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes players do end their career a little short. I mean, we just saw John Kempen, right? Retired as well.
Yeah.
Pick up the boots
Yeah,
and-
that was surprising to me. I haven't spoken to him yet, but I wonder what the main reason of that was.
That's 3 San Diego loyal keepers that.
Yeah.
Well, the
Austin is not
word
retired
still out
yet,
on
all right?
Austin. Like, I
Austin
don't
is
know.
not retired yet.
He's
He's a
in-
free
Has
agent.
he not given the retirement?
I
Yeah,
believe he's
guess
a
he
free
has.
agent.
Yeah, I think Austin will be a free agent until he's 55. So
He's out there coaching the youth here in San Diego, which, I mean, he's trying to coach. I always like to ask when players retire. I asked Jack Metcalf when his last game as well if there was a future in coaching, and he said, no. There's no way. I'm going to be an agent. But for you,
Yeah.
is there a future in coaching or anything different involved in the soccer world?
yeah, I think I'm still trying to figure it out. I mean, so I coach soccer right now at a youth club called Sporting San Diego. They're kind of based in La Mesa area. I coach my daughter's team there, and then I also coach a 2011 boys team, and I do enjoy it. It's just a fun thing that I do, and yeah, there you go, right there, man. You're quick with these
Hey,
pull-ups.
2 balls in a mic has put in the budget, so it's increased a little bit.
Man, you're quick. You
There's
already know my answer.
no influx, but it's all good.
No, but it's a great club to be a part of. They do things the right way, and they're growing, and it was something, I didn't want to, jump and go full time into youth coaching and hit up Surf Del Mar or, Albion and like these top teams, and really kind of, it's something I kind of wanted to, dab my toe in and kind of start to experience, but it's also something I've really liked. And it's a club that's getting a lot better day in and day out, and so I'm looking forward to kind of keep growing that club.
And and Tony and I have talked about this before, where soccer is so big in San Diego and it's growing, and it's something that we're very passionate about now, especially the last couple of years. But as we've spoken before with Andrew Vasiliadis, he's also said, we got to look for the 13 and 14-year-old talent, because all the 16, 17, all the MLS teams are pulling that. Do you see that future in San Diego in the youngsters that you're coaching or that you see playing around?
Absolutely. I mean, there's definitely a level at the 13, 14 year olds where you could already see, okay, this guy has something and the ability to go somewhere if he gets developed properly in the right format. But I've always been of the mind, if you're a good player, you're going to kind of get through a lot of the obstacles to get where you need to go. But yeah, would it be nice that, one day Loyal has their academy and they have, a U10, a U11 or U12, U14 and so on and so on. And they're constantly playing against, the best clubs in the United States. You could really build something in San Diego. And I truly believe that's definitely in the cards for the future, but at the same time, there's a lot of uncertainty, as you guys know, with
100%.
all this talk about MLS and this and that. It's hard to put all your eggs in one basket and really put a ton of investment and time into things that who knows in 10 years if, an MLS team comes in here and doesn't decide to use Loyal. Well, that's a lot of money spent that will be very difficult to overtake an MLS club.
And that's obviously the talk of the town, especially when reporters or people who have never watched a minute of soccer decide to tweet about it, or they're not even in the country, and
I
it's
saw that tweet. I saw that tweet.
it's fun, and but ultimately this is kind of something that, I mean, growing up, I'm a little bit older than you, and a little bit. Okay. But it's just something that wasn't necessarily here. You've always had the Soccers in a sense. Yeah. You've always had, in the South Bay, the Aztecs, talking about Surf, you're talking about the Flash, you're talking about all these different teams, right? But now you have, real money, real investment, real star power with everything happening over at Snapdragon, Alex Morgan, Caitlin Sheridan, just international stars. You have Loyal who have dug up and had their position here in San Diego, which is hopefully going to keep growing. But what are your thoughts about like everything soccer related just happening in now in your backyard?
It's awesome, and obviously what the Wave have done has been amazing. Alex Morgan has brought women's soccer on the map, especially all over the United States, and then especially here in San Diego, which has been really cool. For me, it makes complete sense for any billionaire owner or ownership group to work with the Loyal and say, hey, let's get something done here. You guys have your setup, you have your fan base, let's do this. But that makes sense. But at the same time, I'm not a billionaire. I don't think like a billionaire, although I'd like to one day. I don't know, sometimes a lot of these guys I don't know anyone personally, but maybe they have their ego and they say, oh, let's just do it all on our own. And I mean, it's happened throughout the MLS, right? It's happened in Atlanta with Atlanta Silverbacks. Arthur Blank came in and just said, you know what, I'm just going to do Atlanta United, and just created something completely different. And they've been successful with that. But then you look at the Portland Timbers, who, made that jump from USL and then brought it to MLS. And then you look at not only how well they did it, but also the fans that they were able to hold and create along the way, because the Portland Timbers had such a, strong history, and a history that Loyal's building, even if it's 3 years deep. I mean, it's and I'll tell you that the Section 109 and the fans will tell you the team means a lot to them, Yeah. And so, for me, it makes sense to bring that history and everything to the MLS, and hopefully they do. My fingers are crossed, but it's worked both ways, right? Charlotte, for example, Charlotte Independence, got pretty much demoted to USL League One, and they just kind of hung out there, and they're doing their thing and they're fine. But obviously everybody just pretty much follows the Charlotte MLS team, and I think that would be a shame to let such a good thing like Loyal kind of go wayside if a team does come in here and become MLS.
And that's something that I see that is here already. It's built in. The sports, specifically soccer, just passion, the fervor has always existed here. And for me, right, I came over from TJ. That was my whole world is Mexican football and La Selección, U.S. versus Mexico. Landon Donovan, hate that guy. Turns out to be pretty cool. But I mean, in 2006, my dad worked at Seaport Village, a Chesapeake Fish Company, and some of the owners were Italian. Joey Principato.
Joe Principato.
Oh, we know Joe? Here we go. Johnny Principato. I worked there
Joe,
too. Yeah. Hey, man. Hey. This has turned into a different podcast.
As soon as you said Chesapeake, I was going to drop his name, but you got to it before me.
So 2006, right? Like, World Cup, Italy winning, and just everything that happened with that. I discovered that, soccer isn't just Mexico, and this, like, there's a real base here. And that's just like when Italy won. And I see all these pubs around town, and there seems to be a disparity between connecting those fans and the fans that actually attend Loyal games. The fan base over at Wave games are a little bit different, especially with the built-in with, you see a lot of families there. It's a different crowd. But how do we marry those two? Is there something that you see that isn't being tapped into just yet, that maybe the clubs are missing, or the supporters need to do a little bit more, or just how to build that bridge?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, that's a loaded question with a lot of, answers that someone like me, maybe without a marketing degree, can't really tap into. But like, Yeah, you're right. A wave game looks slightly different. I mean, it looks more like, what a Padre game might look like. You get
Hmm.
fans and families, and they're kind of there for the Snapdragon experience. And it could have been, other teams playing there, and they still would have maybe gone for that night. Whereas the loyal games, they're the committed fans. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're going to quote unquote division level 2, US soccer pyramid, you have to kind of be a fan and kind of know what you're doing, and
Yeah.
I think they've already kind of started to tap in a lot to like the youth soccer, but I still think maybe there's some space in there that they can kind of tap into, like a lot more of the families that have their kids in club soccer, they'll be willing to come out to a game, because I think once you experience it once, I've said this before, once you come to a game, I think it's something you'll want to do again at some point.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, getting them out there. And there was some good crowds last season, a few games that were sold out. And I think it's just going to take time. And then obviously if, one day it does become MLS, that's something you're not really going to have to worry about, in my opinion, with the size of Snapdragon Stadium. I think they'll easily, sell out stadiums like that. I've seen it happen in a lot more cities, and you see what the Padres have done, for example, and they're just like, if you spend the money and you
Yeah.
put a winning product on the field in
Absolutely.
San Diego, people are going to come. And last year, Loyal was really fun to watch, and I think at times you saw a lot of people come out. And I also think like sometimes just the overall knowledge of the team, maybe underestimating the team's ability, because a lot of people don't really understand kind of how it works in the US
Hmm.
and MLS, and then USL. And so you get the people that go, oh, MLS sucks. You got the Premier League and the snooty people, and oh, yeah, MLS is garbage. Why even watch that league, And then you got the people that watch MLS and they'll say, ah, USL is garbage. They don't.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, there's a thin line between a lot of these levels. All right. I think the USL I saw was ranked like in the top 30 leagues in the world. I mean, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good,
It's
yeah.
better than the top league in Australia. This is just by a chart. But I mean, um, and then you look at MLS and it was like maybe like 12 or something like that. So it's not like, and you saw like Sacramento, they went to the US Cup Open
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
final,
Yeah.
last year. It's a thin line. I'm telling you, it's a very thin line. And it could be the difference of 3 or 4 players and the designated player, maybe region in the MLS, those 4 or 5 guys that you can have on a team that don't count towards your salary cap or whatnot. Those, 3, 4, 5 starters. And then obviously they're a little bit more depth to them, but those are kind of the difference makers on a lot of these MLS teams, that kind of put them, over the bar as far as, competing day in and day out with MLS teams. But USL is there, and you're going to go to a game and you're going to see good quality soccer. It's not like you're going to see, Wrexham where they're just kicking the ball or whatever. And to be fair, I haven't seen Wrexham. I haven't seen any Wrexham
Perfect.
games.
I like
Me
it.
neither.
No, I
Me
love it.
neither.
I love it.
I'm just saying, I don't know that level, but I'll tell you, like, the USL level is better than the league they play in. And that seems to have, taken the US by storm. So if you're looking to watch some good quality soccer, I mean, it's here in your backyard in San Diego. So go watch it.
And to just linchpin this point with what you said in the beginning is like, yeah, this is my opinion as far as I don't have a marketing degree for this to kind of go
Yeah.
on this. And that's kind of something that is not to be lost from the leagues, I feel. And obviously as things expand, the separation between the people and, the product has a natural separation. And I think that's something that I really hope that regardless of what the move is with MLS, what the move is with Loyal, even with Wave, I feel like that can be a little bit more, it can be brought up a little bit more, is we need that, the realness of people who like and understand the game outside of what's learned from a book, outside of what makes dollars and cents, outside of that. Because yes, that is important, but it's just not the same when it starts to become on like just so
Yeah.
washed and it's not
Yeah.
as
I mean,
pure.
Look, when San Diego gets an MLS team, and I say when because obviously the MLS commissioner has brought it up
Yeah.
a few times now. I'm pretty sure that that's, his number one on his expansion board, but you're gonna see, at least for the first few years, as I did in Atlanta, you're gonna see those fans that are at the game for the experience that know nothing about soccer.
Yeah.
I don't think you necessarily see that at USL loyal games. I think
Mhm.
a lot of the fans that go to these games are, like I said, the hardcore ones that are more dedicated to the team and actually know a lot about soccer because they love the sport. And they're going to go to these games, whether it be driving up to Orange County to watch a game or going to every single home game. These guys know soccer. Whereas, if a team comes and plays in Snapdragon or wherever, if they build their own stadium, at some point they're going to be a lot of these fans, as my neighbors were in Atlanta, who just kind of were like, oh, why do you guys do this or something, you know what I mean? Like, they don't really know much, they're just coming in being the casual fan, and you're going to get that, and you're probably going to sell it out. But I think eventually, the knowledge of soccer, even to those type of fans, they're going to be fans for life most likely, so their knowledge of soccer is going to get better and better. I can't tell you how many friends that weren't fans of soccer, older guys who loved watching this World Cup, and it happens every World Cup
Yeah.
cycle, just loved watching the World Cup. And then, in my friends, WhatsApp group that we're all texting, a lot of my buddies, if I'm doing a fantasy football league with them or a fantasy baseball league, they start going like, oh, I'm gonna start watching the Premier League, and like trying to like find a team to be a fan of, and he lands on West Ham, and now he's a West Ham United fan. It's just like, I think these things just slowly take time. And if you look at where we were in 1990 or in the year 2000 to where we are now, it's night and day.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Division Two
100%.
U.S. soccer has a market and has a place for people to come out and watch games. And in that league, this league, the USL, is growing so much,
Yeah.
along with the MLS. The MLS is growing so much. The MLS is way better than it was when I first came into the league in 2010. It's there was 15 teams, 16 teams in the league when I came in, and now there's close to 30. So, I mean, the growth between all the sports, all the levels, has just been amazing. I mean, there's a place for a lot of teams in the soccer pyramid. And so eventually, like I said, eventually San Diego is going to get a team, and hopefully it's with the Loyal.
And I mean, you mentioned this, and I gotta agree with you. I think San Diego Loyal are kind of gearing up to make that jump to MLS by bringing talent that has played and has experience in MLS with Joe Corona, right? Like he shared, we had him on the
Yeah.
podcast. He shared with us how much he thinks the city would benefit with an MLS team, and I think this is what Loyal's trying to do. Was Joe Corona was such a smart signing just because it does give you that like Hispanic ticket, like Mexican fans that could come out and watch Loyal as well, but also gives that mindset on the team. Like, hey, I've played in the MLS. I can give you guys like tips and tricks of what I did to get there. So, what are your thoughts so far on the signing of Joe Corona?
Yeah, that was huge, right? And sorry, my kids are screaming in the
Oh, it's
background,
good.
but
Job number one.
yeah. No, that was a crazy good signing. I mean, he's a local kid, similar to a situation to me. He kind of came here. Is he towards the back of his career? Probably. Does he still have a lot of miles left? Yeah, I think so. And he's gonna create just that home feel and that connect with the fans. I mean, again, being from San Diego, playing here, connecting with the fans on the field, for the first time, I felt like I was home playing a sport that I love, that kind of brought everything I love together. And I'm sure it's the same with Joe Corona, right? He grew up here. He played even a year at San Diego State, I believe. He's from here. So it means a lot for him to be here, and not just be here and be happy to be here, but to win. I mean, when I was here, I didn't just want to be here. I wanted to actually like win and like grow something. And I think, the winning side, came at times, but it was more about the growth, I think, from the 2 years that I was here to where they were last year. And so, yeah, I think, and there you see Duran, there you see Joe Corona, right? Yeah, Joe Corona, meeting everybody at the club. And yeah, it's just, I know that feeling, when they were kind of starting off in the very early days, I went into the office and talked to everybody, and it's a cool thing to be a part of, and um, it'll be awesome for him to see how he does this year and be a leader on the field. And going off of Duran, because I thought it was him for a second, but what a kind of cool impact that has had for him, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd be playing on the U17 national team if there wasn't San Diego Loyal here, right? So it's just an
True.
impact on his life directly, and he's getting on in front of the center stage. And when I was 18 and got to play for the U18 national team, it was a much different path, to get there. And for
Yeah.
him, it just was kind of a big leap from being signed with the San Diego Loyal at such a young age, and getting such high praise from all the players and the coaching staff. That for sure played a role right away into him getting a call up to the U17s. And it's looking like he has a very promising career. And, once Koke Vegas decides to move on, whenever that may be, I don't think there's any doubt that Duran can, man goal even
Yeah.
at a ripe age of, 17, 18, 19 years old. I think actually that'd be pretty cool to see as being from San Diego, having another San Diego kid play such a, important position for the Loyal, game in and game out.
The most important. I mean, I'm biased. I'm a
Yeah.
goalkeeper. It's the most
You're
important
biased,
position.
but yeah, I would say
One of 11. I mean,
it can make or break a team for sure.
100%. What are some things that, I mean, you were talking about, Joe Corona a little bit coming into this, and what that feeling is coming home. What are some of the things that, he's encountering, like friends hitting you up and tickets? Is that kind of the whirlwind? And, oh, come on, bring the team here to eat, bring the team there. I know a lot of team has been to a restaurant in Little Italy, and you brought business that way.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
good on you.
Yeah, no, he's definitely gonna, get hit up for 20 tickets a game. And Loyal was always very generous on kind of what I needed. And I think they always helped out the San Diego local guys to bring their family and friends, because they know it's important. I mean, part of the reason why Joe Corona wants to come back here and play is because he wants his friends and family to come watch him play. So, he's going to try to scrounge up, as much tickets as he can, and get him out there. But it's a different feeling, different like comfort feeling, but in a good way. Not like a relaxed way, but like a good comfort feeling playing at home.
I mean, and he's doing it right. Like I've seen him already at his former high school, my former high school, just rubbed off on him.
Sweetwater?
Sweetwater High School. Just out in the community already. And I think that's something that some of the fans were asking a little bit more of from the players, obviously understanding and this, that there's hours that the players can go per day. Obviously, this is their job, right? But I think that's something that the fan base is asking just a little bit more of. Let's get to know these players. Let's get to do that. Is that something that you feel that needs to have a little bit more shine on? I know the Loyal had this piece over at the barbershop with Elijah, Abby, and Toomey that came out. Fantastic piece. And I think the reaction was like, yeah, let's get more of this. Like, why we're not just robots. They're not just like fantasy players in a sense for football, to put it in a way.
Yeah, I think it's always cool to peel back the curtain a little bit, especially for the fans. They're the ones paying for the tickets, and trust me, if players are complaining now that, oh, we need to focus on the game, and try going to Europe, because when I was in Europe, the fans just demand and want a million times more than what the San Diego Loyal fans are wanting. Trust me. That they feel like they're a part of the team more than the players, you know what I mean? And so I don't think that, I would say it's off base for the fans to kind of want that to happen. Obviously the number one priority is for the players to be focused on the game and to win and whatnot, but leaving a mark on the community is huge. I mean, it's right up there with winning and playing well and doing everything right. It's the mark that you're leaving on the city that you're playing in is just as important as what you do on the field. So if not more, actually. So, is there more space for that and more time for that? Yeah, it'd be pretty cool to see more guys, especially it's what the fans want, and it's making a difference in a lot of, people's lives.
No, I like that, and I think the players did enjoy that. I mean, I saw Elijah, just be very open about how just talking about things like that really helped that self care aspect,
Yeah.
and obviously self care for an athlete is important, and the mental aspect is really coming to light, and that's great in that way. But I mean, as a whole, I think San Diego is in a great spot. One last pressing question. I think this will be the hardest question for you to answer. Um, who wins the championship first, the Padres or the San Diego Loyal or Wave?
Oh man. What finals is first?
Let's throw in Albion because then we get a little back
Do we?
talk.
Okay, Sal, Albion. Do you have any thoughts on Albion? Nisa League, another professional team.
Yeah, I don't really, I can't really
Okay,
comment much
okay,
on
That's fair.
that is
That's
fair.
fair.
That is
Albion.
absolutely fair.
I know they're gonna play him in Open Cup again this
Hmm.
year, so that'll be always fun to watch. It might be kind of a reoccurring theme the way everything is always situated.
Yeah.
But
True.
who would win first? I mean, you can't really put past what the owner of the Padres have done
Yeah.
lately. I mean, the amount of money and everything that they're putting into this team. I mean, it's like, to put it on terms, it's like signing, in the USL, it's like signing 4 or 5 good MLS players to like mega deals in the
Yeah.
USL and then saying go win. So, I mean, I would say the Padres are probably a little bit more poised. I don't know what finals happens first though. So, I mean, if
Ooh.
That's
what
wow. So that's even maybe predicting two at the same time in the same year in the same season. I'm okay with
I mean,
that.
maybe both of them make it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could throw. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it'd be really fun to see both teams win. I've been a lifelong San Diego Padre fan, and I
Yep.
think it's amazing what they've kind of created over the last few years. And going into this year, I think you guys would say it's the most hype year, with the best, odds going into the season of winning the World Series. I've always said, no San Diego team has ever won really a professional, sports title. Obviously the San Diego Sockers.
Yeah.
You can go on about a few other lower division teams and including the USL, but it'd be cool to see the Padres win the World Series. And then of course Loyal and Wave would be cool. It's hard, I've been a Padre fan since I was born, you know what I mean? And
Yes.
being a loyal fan as well. I'm gonna say whoever plays in the finals first will be the one that wins it.
I think I know the answer to which parade will you party the hardest.
I think both,
Yeah, I like that actually a lot.
all three.
But Sal, this has been a pleasure. I really appreciate you coming on and giving your perspective. Again, because San Diego soccer is coming up, and it's been a pleasure just getting to know so many people and get to talk to so many cool individuals like yourself. And I want to thank you for your time. Hopefully, we see you out there at Torero and cheering on San Diego Loyal.
Yeah, a lot of exciting things on the horizon for San Diego soccer, so it's only going to get bigger and better. So it's really exciting.
Love to hear that.
Perfect. All right, and we'll stick around and we'll cut it out right here, and we'll
All
stop
right.
recording.
Recording
No.
stopped.